And we are continuing our GenCon coverage. I'm here at the Victory Point Games with Chris, the designer of Twilight of the Gods. This game caught my eye. Hopefully, Chris is going to give us a good explanation. I'm sure he is. He's the designer. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. So far, the con as well?
Yeah, really well. Tons of demos. People are super excited. It's been a blast.
Awesome. The con's almost over. So one more time, give us a quick overview of how to play Twilight of the Gods.
All right, so the game itself is set in 6th century AD. The Roman Empire is collapsing. Empires around the world are collapsing. The pantheons are collapsing with them. You are going to play as an actual god in this game.
Okay.
So your god...
Backside's really cool.
Yeah. So your god has a special once per game ability that you can use. When you do, you flip it over and you stare at the shiny art.
Okay.
You are battling against another god, a friend. You are trying to kill each other to gain scraps of power to survive the upcoming Dark Ages. It's, God eat God. It's a terrible world.
I love the slogan, by the way, which is?
Smite makes right.
That's right.
Smite makes right. All right, in this game, it is a typical, so like Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, you each have a deck of cards. Our game comes with 4 pre-made decks that have all been balanced against each other. We encourage you to get into deck building.
These are it right here, different.
Yep. Comes with deck boxes too to hold your cards. We have made sure there's enough room for sleeves, so you can actually fit your cards inside and have them still be sleeved.
That is awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. All right. So, we encourage you to get into deck building with this game. If you don't want to, you can still open up the box, play the game with your friends, have a good time. But when you get into deck building, that's really where you're going to start exploring all the different options.
Okay.
In this game, your deck is your life. As you take damage, cards will start flipping off into your discard stack. The other player can attack either your life or your discard stack. If they attack your discard stack, they can remove cards from the game permanently.
Okay.
So you're balancing current life versus max life. Certain factions, more specifically the brown faction, like to do a lot of healing. They like to restore cards back underneath their deck. You might want to start removing those cards from the game.
Okay.
All right. You'll notice on the backs of the cards, there are 3 different resource types. Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. This is how you summon your cards. We are not Magic. You do not tap your lands for mana.
That's right. We can't use the word tap.
Right. You exhaust your aspects for power.
That's right.
That's right. Thank you, lawyers. All right. So,
welcome to America.
Yeah, welcome to America.
We're Canadian, by the way.
Nice. Yeah, our legal system's not that great. All right. On the front of the cards, you'll see on the upper left of the card what tier level it represents. That way you don't have to constantly look at the back of your cards.
Okay.
In addition, as the tier level goes up, the power level of the card goes up. Tier 2s will be stronger than Tier 1s, Tier 3s stronger than Tier 2s. If your opponent starts playing Tier 3s, you're probably going to want to match them, because your Tier 2s really aren't going to hold up.
Okay.
Upper right of the card tells you the summoning cost of that card. Those are the exact amount of resources you need. You can't swap resources for each other. You have to have the specific ones. Okay, now in this game you acquire resources not by playing cards from your hand face down as resources. Instead, you have to trade cards with the other player. So, during the trade phase, if it's my turn, I could say, I will offer you a Tier 1 and a Tier 2 for a Tier 1 and a Tier 2. It's up to my opponent if they want to accept or not. They can make a counter offer. They could say, well, I don't really need the Tier 2, but I'll trade you 2 Tier 1s for 2 Tier 1s. Then it's up to me if I want to accept, make a counter offer. If we cannot come to an agreement, generally that happens later on in the game, because early on you both have no resources. You want to get cards into play.
Right.
If the top cards of our life stacks match each other, so if these are 2 decks, if these match, we can immediately force those as a 1-to-1 trade.
Oh, wow, that's really cool mechanic. Okay.
If we can't trade or force trade, you can take a resource from your opponent, but you have to ditch cards from your own hand to do so.
Okay.
To take a Tier 1, you have to ditch 3 cards. 1 will be destroyed permanently. A Tier 2 is 4 cards. A Tier 3 is 5 cards.
Wow. Okay.
So you're giving up hand advantage to gain resource advantage.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow, that's really interesting mechanic, actually. Okay.
Now, when you trade cards, you want to pay attention to the little black box on the bottom of the cards. Because when you trade cards, they will trade face down. Your opponent will not know what you are giving them.
Right.
There are many ways in this game, it's called manifesting, to flip a resource face up. When you do, you resolve whatever is in the heresy box.
Wow, okay.
You're not just trading resources, you are trading traps with each other.
Wow, okay, wow, that sounds really cool.
Yeah,
okay.
So you are gambling that the traps you trade to the other person are better than the traps they're trading you, and you will take more advantage of the resources they've given you than the resources you've provided them.
Wow, okay, very, very cool.
Yeah, you will find out at the end of the game whether you were right or not. Either
Awesome.
you'll win or lose. Okay, Basic card types. We have 4 different card types in this game. For those who have played Magic, you will notice some similarities to the card types there. I'm going to use some of those terms to help people figure it out. Okay. The most common way to damage your opponent is a creature. Yeah. Creatures have a fight value and a life value. They deal damage to other creatures based on their fight. You'll notice this creature deals 0 fight to other creatures. They can take damage equal to their life. Damage in this game is permanent. When a creature takes damage, it remains on that creature. We have little wound markers. These come with the game, so you can track. I expect people will probably use dice after a certain point. That's fine. We don't care. When creatures damage life or discard stacks, they deal damage equal to their current life. So if you chip down a creature, then it will deal progressively less damage to you as a god.
Okay.
Creatures exhaust to attack. Creatures must be fresh to block. Creatures do not have summoning sickness. They are acclimating to the battlefield.
Okay.
So can't attack the first turn they come into play. However, if a creature has an exhaust ability, it can use that the first turn it comes into play.
It could use it.
Yeah, it could use it, yeah. So you can actually tap them to use an ability.
Technically, they all have haste.
Yes, exactly. Well, not haste for attacking, but haste for haste for abilities. Okay, those also with creatures, we have what is called creature limit. You can only have as many creatures of this type in play as you have resources of that type in play.
Okay.
This prevents rush decks from flooding the field with a bunch of little weenie creatures early on and swarming their opponent. You have to be able to support your creatures with your resources.
Okay.
Creatures. Fortifications. Fortifications are similar to enchantments in Magic. They remain in play, generally give you an ongoing benefit. They are limited by location, north, south, east, and west. You can have as many fortifications on a location as you want, only the topmost one is active. If I play another fortification, goes on top of that one.
So you can cover someone up if it kind of bothers you.
Right, yeah. Some fortifications combo off each other. They'll say if this fortification is underneath it, you'll get a bonus.
Okay.
We also have plans to expand on that in the future. Like, we try to leave ourselves a lot of design space.
That's really cool. Okay, yeah.
So those are fortifications. Next up, intrigues. Intrigues are like enchantments too. They remain in play. You have no limit to the amount of intrigues you can have in play. However, intrigues have an upkeep cost. At the start of your turn, after you refresh, before you do anything else, you must pay that upkeep cost.
Okay.
If you cannot pay the full upkeep cost, you must pay as much as possible. Then the intrigue exhaust has no benefit that turn.
Wow, and then you can use the next turn if you have the upkeep cost.
If you have enough resources. Okay. Intrigues are very double-edged swords. If you have too many of these in play and you lock out your resource base, your opponent probably isn't going to trade you more resources.
Wow, right. Okay.
So you got to be careful when you play these. You got to play them at the right time. Last, schemes. Schemes are basically instants. Play them from your hand, hit the battlefield, do their effect, go to the discard stack.
Okay.
They can be played both on your turn and your opponent's turn. Creatures, fortifications, and intrigues can only be played on your turn during the summoning phase.
Okay. And yeah, here everything is here for easy.
Orders, right on the map for easy access. Let me grab a rulebook real quick.
Sure.
In the rulebook, on the back page, we have included a timing window. So that way you know where all your action windows are for active effects. You want to get an argument, can I do this, can I do this? You'll know. We use a stack similar to Magic. Last effect in, first one out.
Got it.
However, creatures that use exhaust abilities, if you respond to it by killing the creature, that exhaust ability does not go off. You actually do get to kill the creature.
Oh, okay, so like the old school Magic.
Old school Magic, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Active. The only time active effects are not allowed are during the refresh phase. We don't want players messing with resources while they're trying to pay upkeeps. Then the trade and seize phase, we don't want players messing with cards in their hand while they're trading cards. Last thing in our game that makes us unique from other games. There are almost no counterspells in our game. There's really only one. It's in the blue faction.
That's really nice. Okay.
I hate playing permission.
Dude, I hear you. I hear every like top 8 tier deck in Magic is like blue and counters. Chase the Mind Sculptor back in the day. You're like, what the heck?
Right.
Okay, beautiful.
It just makes it unfun.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. One person's playing the game. One person's just watching.
Yeah, they're just responding. Right,
yeah, exactly. So in our game, there are really no counterspells. You cannot build a permission deck. However, at any point in time, any player can destroy, so remove from play, any card being played or already in play by sacrificing resources equal to the card's printed casting cost.
Right, but that's a big, like, what was the word I'm looking for? Not gamble, but a big, you're going to lose a lot of resources.
Yeah, there's a reason why we call it sacrificing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that is the name of it.
It's a real sacrifice.
Yes, right. So everyone has access to a counterspell. It will always hurt you to use that counterspell. When you get into higher level play, knowing when and what to sacrifice against will generally determine who wins and loses.
I can see right now this game has a lot of tactics, and I think that the primary thing is going to be timing. We're going to get some review copies for Bored to Death. Twilight of the Gods by Victory Point Games. Chris, thank you very much. We are looking forward to reviewing this game.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Subscribe now to our channel to stay in the loop. If you like our work, help us continue by sharing the channel to your gaming group. Thanks for watching and happy gaming.